shirt don't fit like it used to, and I need another notch on my belt. If you're looking for a six-pack, muscled up kind of man, better look somewhere else.
I don't know. But anyway, guys, welcome to Talking Sports, Thanksgiving Eve edition. Excited for what we have coming for us. Gentlemen, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Fantastic. How are you, Ben?
Man, I'm doing well. Some of you guys know I had surgery a few weeks ago, and so I'm mobile and moving around again, which is always a good feeling. Not
nice
laying down and taking Vicodin and passing out again. So it's good to be back in life with the living again. But speaking of the living, let's go right away into this. College football is insane. People complain about how they can't follow 120 teams, and usually I would say you don't have to, but right now we have 40 games this weekend with implications playing the bowl season and or the playoffs. And I gotta say, for me, that on one side, that's pretty impressive and kind of exciting as a college football fan. Now, Aaron, you mentioned before, also the Badgers are kind of passive, but does this kind of, as a more passive fan, does it intrigue you at all to watch more football this weekend, or are you just kind of complacent with it?
Oh yeah, no. I'm a huge football fan. Period. So I'll watch any. I mean, how I was watching some of the high school, football playoffs, like last weekend, even though I didn't have really any stake in any of the games except local Bayport here, but my kids go to a different school district. Anyway, I love football. I actually enjoy, and I've said this before on the show, and I've said it before on my Facebook profile. I feel like I can enjoy football more when the teams that I don't root for, I'm not a diehard fan for, aren't involved in the games. Like I just want to see good football. So like for me, yes, the Badgers may not even make a bowl game this year. They certainly won't be in the 12-team playoff. I just want to see some good football. I mean, there are a few teams that are right now in the 12 that, like Notre Dame, I can get into reasons why I hate Notre Dame. I hate them. They're the one team I'll be cheering against for sure. Okay. Ohio State's another one. I'm just sick of them. But the other 10, I'm like, I just want to see good football. So yeah, when I mentioned that before, it's more, I'm not necessarily as well educated as other people are on the college football landscape, I guess is what it is. Not that I don't care. I love football. I'll enjoy watching the games this weekend. So a lot of great games.
Yeah, no, and that notice at the end of the questions wanted to kind of check. We'll get this whole thing. Yeah. I mean, literally for the next every night starting tomorrow through the weekend, we've got some phenomenal football games to watch. Obviously, the Thanksgiving NFL games we'll get to later, but tomorrow night, the one college game tomorrow is Memphis at Tulane. And
thanks, Brandon. Why don't you go back and watch Carl Brooks block your kick?
There you go.
Right. Anyway,
Bowling Green,
sorry.
Carl Brooks. But yeah, so tomorrow we got Memphis and Tulane, which is kind of a nice little rivalry game in its own. Tulane's looking at a spot where they might be able to make a claim for that playoff spot as the Group of 5 highest ranked team potentially. Needs the win, but Memphis is kind of that rival. So pretty fun, an interesting game overall. The line is 13.5 for Tulane, but knowing how this game has played out the last, I'll say 5-6 years, I have a feeling it's going to be closer than that, and it's going to be pretty high scoring. Look for Tulane to win. Obviously, they're at home. They're the higher-ranked team, but Memphis is feisty, and they can score quick. Steve, what's your take on this game?
I mean, Tulane's got to, continue. We're talking about, Ben, this is the spoiler weekend. There are so many games this weekend that are the rivalry games, but there's a lot of teams that are just on the outside looking in, and a loss pretty much knocks you out of consideration. A win and movement above you could put you into that consideration where you've got these teams that are, and we'll talk more about some of these teams in a couple minutes. You've got a group of teams here starting with Clemson at 12 and going down, Tulane at 17, that they're sitting there going, a couple teams have a bad weekend and our fortunes could change.
Right.
Or they could still get even if Tulane loses this game, which I don't expect them to, they're not going to be playing in like a first day bowl this bowl season.
Right.
They're going to get rewarded. But that is where, now that we've gone to 12, these games that everybody last year was like, it's not going to make a difference. We know who the 4 are going to be, or we know who the 6 and the possible 4 are going to be. Now it's 12. And so these games that the spoilers are now going to jump in, and we're going to see a couple this weekend. It's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow night.
No, I think that overall, he said there's a lot of big ones to watch. This will be a fun one to watch football-wise. Now, granted, I'll be watching the Packer game. This is my priority tomorrow night. But I strongly encourage those who don't have the setup, hook yourself up with a few screens, maybe Black Friday, picking our TV up, because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you can have all 3 screens going with phenomenal football on your television set. Going into Friday, I mean, literally every time slot has, for one reason or another, at least 3 games that I want to be watching or keep my eyes on.
Yep.
And the first one might surprise you. That's Oregon State at Boise State. So Boise is also in that spot where they need to win to keep their hold and keep teams like Tulane off their feet, off their backs on trying to keep that Group of 5 berth into the playoffs. But Oregon State's fighting for their bowl eligibility. So Boise has nothing to lose in the conference, but the playoffs, what they're playing for. Oregon State needs this to show that they're still relevant. They won the 2-team Pac-12. Congratulations, but you're only 5 wins right now. You want to say that you matter, you need to win. This is a 19-point line for Boise State. 57.5 is the over. I think those points will hit, but this is going to be a lot closer than a 20-point game if I had to guess. Steve, where are you coming up with this one?
I think this is coming down to the Pac-2 playing spoiler. I don't think it's going to happen, but once again, you've got another team that Boise State is sitting here. According to what I'm seeing, they are already locked into the Mountain West Championship.
Yep.
And technically this is not a Mountain West game per se, but it was done during that scheduling alliance that they did for this season. But of course with now, what's happened, I mean, this is, going to be more of a Pac-12 in the future with all the shuffling, but
right.
It's just, Ben, it's not just this game in this slot. I mean, there's 4 games.
We'll
yeah, there's more. I'm saying, but I'm like, folks, like, buckle up, as Ben said. We've got this game though as one. It's on Fox, and that's the thing about it, is the Mountain West doesn't normally get. It's not big noon, but it's noon love,
yeah.
And so they're getting the spotlight. So once again, another team with a chance to have the spotlight on them if they perform. The committee, I'm sure, is going to have a turkey hangover, but they got a lot of football on Friday and Saturday to look at as they put the bodies of work together to determine how the 12 are going to lay out for the playoff. And a strong showing by Boise State at home. I don't know what the weather is going to be in Boise on Friday, but, that's another thing that always comes into play, is that, partly cloudy and 38. We're not going to get those snowstorms like we're used to sometimes seeing in Boise, that just totally takes teams for a ride. But, we'll see what happens.
It'll be a heck of a game either way. I mean, Oregon State's well coached. They are in a spot where they can continue to make some movement there. I obviously think Boise wins, but I think Oregon State makes this thing close. And they have a lot to play for right now in terms of pride and everything else. Yeah. The next game, our ABC game this time slot, is one of the biggest disappointments in the Power 4 conferences as a whole, in my opinion, against, we'll call it a little bit of a surprise for me at least, Colorado team find their way here. And so Oklahoma State, dead last in the Big 12 this year, picked by many to be in the playoffs. And I'm sure if you guys are playing NCAA 25, you probably have seen them in your group of 12 in your playoff if you're getting to the spot in your dynasties for the first season. This is a team that's supposed to do better than they are, but here they are. And Colorado now is in that spot where they are still barely alive in the Big 12 to possibly win it and sneak their way into this playoff picture. Highly unlikely takes an act of God in the movement to get them in, pretty much, but they could do it. And they need to beat Oklahoma State, who, let's call it what it is an experienced team, again, very well coached, that has nothing to lose and everything to gain by trying to beat Coach Prime in this main window on a nationally televised game. Colorado's a 16-point favorite, 65.5-point over. I have the strange feeling Oklahoma State's going to find a way to wreck that day for Prime a little bit. And again, I'm a Prime hater, so I fully admit I'm skewed here. But, well, heck, I'll quote it. I'm a man. I'm 40. I want to watch what I want to watch. Mr. Gundy here with Coach Gundy with that quote for you as well. Steve, we're taking a lot of time here already. I know it, but the big one here too. This game has got a lot going on.
Yeah.
What do you expect? I
expect Coach Prime, I think, is playing above expectations this season right now. This is where he had that time where folks were like, give him time. Like everyone was wanting to run him out of Boulder with the way, things did not come together where, he wanted Shedeur to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the depth chart. And folks were like, that's not going to work, go coaching the NFL, whatever. And this season he said, look, like, here we are. And it's not a fluke. Like, they are playing good football. They are being recognized for playing good football. So, but once again, you got a 3-8 team and Gundy doesn't lay down. So this is not going to be Gundy coming into Boulder and saying, go ahead, Prime, it's your moment. Like, continue to have aspirations of not going to make the playoffs. I don't think it, being ranked 25, but having a great season. This is going to be another one of those, as I said earlier, this is the weekend when things happen that you don't, it's happened earlier in this year. This has been a crazy year for college football, but I think that Colorado will win, but I don't think it's going to be, I don't think Colorado is going to run the ball up and down the field. It's not going to happen, but I think Colorado will prevail, especially since it's being played in Boulder.
Over under on Hunter hitting Heisman posts as well as team is trailing in this game. I hate that stuff, man. I just hate it. But Hunter's phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but my gosh. Come on, dude. Situations. Now our resident SEC honk has the best picture behind him today. We'll talk the worst college opinions to bring to the table right now, but I talked to him. So, SEC Chuck, how you doing?
What's up? Hey, y'all know.
I love the festive hat, the festive background. Looking good, my friend.
Oh, yeah. This hat happens to have about 25 different Colts autographs on it, too.
That's awesome.
Including Reggie Wayne and Dwight Freeney from the season that we won the Super Bowl. Brandon and I were just talking about that tiny bit. I'm sure he remembers that game. Yeah, absolutely. How are you guys doing?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to have the conversation and get you right into football right away. Where I'm not doing well, my friend, is with my Wisconsin Badgers. And my Badgers are hosting Minnesota this weekend for our Bowl Streak Lives, the third longest active bowl streak in college football, in the most played rivalry in college football history, Battle for Paul Bunny and Zax, formerly the game for the slab of bacon. Yes, our bacon show does also have some Wisconsin roots here again, but Minnesota's coming in. They played their hearts out against Penn State, still lost that game. They were right there and close. Wisconsin needs this, and I'll say Fickle needs this to keep his job, because right now we're looking at I'll call it what it is. We are entitled. We are Wisconsin, and it wasn't long ago we were winning Big Ten championships. So I'm not really doing well taking a guy coming in and bringing this air raid offense into our power run scheme, Midwest boys built like me, 6'6" and 300-plus pounds of football love. Let us go hit somebody and play direct football, not throw the ball around the field. But I digress. In this game, Wisconsin is 1.5-point favorites at home right now with a 41.5-point over. Look, this is going to be a tight game. This is a game that's usually played either exceptionally close or a massive blowout. Like there's been a few of those have come across, and right now I'm saying this is going to be that kind of. I'll take the over on this one, but I think it's last person with the ball, possibly an overtime situation that wins this game in Camp Randall this weekend. Bacon, I know you got some opinions here too, watching the Badgers. Before we go to the other, our outside for some fresh perspective, what are you thinking?
I'll make this really quick. I have absolutely zero faith that this is going to be a close game. I think this is one of those that, like you said, some of them are blowouts. This is going to be a blowout. And I just this I will be surprised. I know Ben, you said earlier in the week you and I were going back and forth in the chat.
Yep.
That you have some connections with some football people down in Madison and that there's a lot of friction right now. I'll take your word for that. I guess in order for them to get rid of Fickell, he has to have burned a ton of bridges already, because I know when they hired him, they had said they anticipated a 3 to 5 year process for him to kind of get his his guys in and his system in and all that kind of stuff. But the way they played, I was proud of those guys against Oregon. They could have won that game.
Yep.
And then the way they turned around and crapped the bed against Iowa, and you gave up 42 points against Iowa. Iowa has trouble scoring 14. You gave up 42. I knew they'd only score about 10 or 14. I figured it would be a low-scoring game. You got your butt kicked. And then you go in. Braylon Allen said it best after that game against Nebraska when he was like, I think on Twitter, he said something like, really? Nebraska? Like, come on, guys. You've never lost to Nebraska. 10-0 against Nebraska. And you didn't just lose to them on a last-second field goal. You got your butt kicked in that one, too. I have zero faith. Minnesota isn't exactly a powerhouse, obviously. I think they have pretty much the same record the Badgers do, or right around that, either 5-6 or 6-5. They took Penn State to the wire last week. Probably should have won that game. Lost by 1. I think that was in Minnesota.
Yep.
I'm one of those fans right now that has completely lost faith, and I hope they win, but I'm not sure if I'll be sitting there watching every minute of that game. I think they're going to get crushed.
Fair enough. Charles, what do you see in the Gophers and Badger game this Friday? Who are you taking and why?
Man, so I haven't really followed the Gophers too much at all this season, and the Badgers just a little bit. But I know that if a Gopher and a Badger got into a fight, I am pretty damn sure that a Badger would win. So
that's fair.
I'm going to go with them, and just on the off chance, hopefully for you guys, I'll be right. No, I think it'll be I think it'll be an interesting game. Honestly, I think that the Gophers may actually get you guys on this one.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of set up to kind of beat y'all's defense. But like I said, I haven't really followed those those teams too much this season. I've been too busy down here following good football in the SEC. So.
Oh, I speak my mouth a little bit. I'm sorry. No. So, by the way, a note here to add to Aaron's comments here before. Looking at rivalries this year, this would be the third rivalry game that would be Fickell losing all 3 in one season, which hasn't happened to us. Well, we never lost to Nebraska, but Nebraska's technically a rivalry game. They forced on us in the original Leaders and Legends divisions. We embraced it and we owned it. And then Iowa is also a big one for us. As a trophy game. And then, of course, here, the Battle for Paul Bunyan's Axe being our third. If Fickell loses all 3 of these and the bowl streak ends, we are pretty strong people here in the upper Midwest, but we'll be pretty freaking hot no matter how cold it is outside. Don't screw with us that way. But, Steve, what are your thoughts? I know you're more of a Penn State guy. We talked about the Penn State game, but Pitt first always. I understand that too.
Yeah,
but what do you expect here with the Battle of Paul Bunyan's Axe?
What do I expect? I expect. I want to say that I think Wisconsin has a chance to pull this off, but the way that Minnesota put the scare in Penn State last week, I mean, I was out, not really paying attention to the game. Ended up at a restaurant where Pitt and Penn State games were both on, and I looked up and I'm like, wait a second, Penn State's got a chance to lose. I mean, I expected to come in and be 28-17 Penn State, and here they are, inches from having Minnesota win. I mean, it's one of those things where I think Wisconsin can pull it off. I think Fickell realizes that he's dangling very. I mean, it would put both of these teams 6-6 if it was a win for Wisconsin and a loss for Minnesota. It's not as big of a deal in my mind weather-wise. I know you got two hardy teams that are used to cold. I mean, it's going to be in the upper or the low 20s at kickoff with about a 15-mile-an-hour wind. So no snow. That's for you folks up in Green Bay for Thursday night, but we'll talk about that later. But it's that cold too. And, it's always something that's a challenge. Ball control, both on the ground and in the air when you've got colder conditions. Can you handle the ball? Can you manage, everything well? That's going to come into play. The kicking game, it's tougher to kick a cold ball. So we'll see what happens. I think Wisconsin squeaks it out, but I don't know if Fickell's going to keep his job even with a win. I mean, that's just what I'm saying. So,
okay. We'll be a little quicker these next few games. There's a few good games here I wanted to hit, and that's Miami of Ohio playing Bowling Green for a spot in the MAC championship. This is a win and in game for both teams. Bowling Green is favored at home by 2.5, and one of the lowest overs I've seen in a while in a college game, 38.5. Is that over on that game? So I probably wouldn't watch it, but might watch that final score. That's gonna be it's gonna be a snooze fest, but a game that matters. Ohio is also in a position of playing. If they win, they're in. Ball State wins, Ohio's out, and creates a pandemonium effect in the MAC to look at the playoffs in general. Another game that has some history, and that's in the 2:30 slot we're going to move into, is Ole Miss, Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl being played at Vaught Hemingway up there in Oxford. So here's the deal. Ole Miss is still dangling by a string as if, again, chaos theory, if everything went perfectly their way, they could slide to a playoff spot potentially as a wild card team, if you will. But this game also has a history of the team that shouldn't win wins, and it just creates absolute chaos. This is a blood feud. And for those who are not from the state of Mississippi, may notice it's a beautiful place to be, but these are differences in who you are. This is LA versus Green Bay kind of feeling to me, where it's, so you have Oxford is the medical school, the law school, Mississippi State's agriculture, engineering, just different people, different mindsets, right? And it becomes this meeting of the two here in the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss is obviously a much better team. They're 26-point favorites at home. They should be. But look, this is always fun to watch. And for once, I'm going to agree this week. Vegas has it right. Mississippi State sucks this year. This is a bad state team. Sad to say it. I have my bell right there. And it's just one of those things that this is going to be a runaway Egg Bowl for Ole Miss. Gentlemen, am I missing anything there in your opinions?
Ole Miss's defense is definitely going to be the defining factor in this game. Their Mississippi State's just not going to be able to do anything. But I want to know what Mississippi you've been to, saying that it's a beautiful state. Mississippi, like the armpit of the South. Like that is where you get to where the scenery starts to change, but it doesn't get cool until you get to Louisiana. Like, no. Mississippi's a terrible state, man. Oh.
Okay, first off, who told Charlie that I pissed in his cornflakes? Because he's coming at me in all angles lately. And I'm not sure what I did exactly. But I'll tell you what, I'm not pissing your cornflakes, bud.
Hey, man, I've been to Mississippi. Call it like I see it.
I lived there 6 years now. I'll defend until I have to. But look, end of the day, Egg Bowl's a fun game to watch usually, but this is going to be an absolute. I'll quote Coach Kiffin here: "Bring your popcorn. It's time to get popping. Just watch them cook." But while this is going on CBS Sports Network, Sam Houston and Liberty are playing. Sam Houston playing for their chance to be in their conference championship game for Conference USA. So kind of a big game for them there. I think it's when the numbers are 4. Sam Houston's like points for and against are 2 of the lowest in the entire country. Both 4, like they're I think plus 30, but it's like 140 to 110 for all season points for and against. Crazy defense of Sam Houston, if I'm remembering correctly here. But sliding down a little bit, Georgia Tech and Georgia. Look, Georgia has, and this is where I want to hit Charles a little bit. Georgia has them in cruise control. They're already in the SEC championship game, and playing Texas or Texas A&M. Winner of the game this weekend will play Georgia in Atlanta. Georgia Tech has been a slippery game here before too. This is one of those rivalry games that is a actual rivalry game.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I don't think this year that's the case, but I think that Georgia cannot sleep on the Yellow Jackets this year. They need to keep it between the uprights, between the hedges this weekend. Look, 19 points and a 51.5 point over. I think it's probably high. I think this is more of let's call it a 27 to 13 kind of game. I don't think Georgia's going to run away with it. I don't think that anyone's going to run away with it. But it's going to be a decent game. But I think Georgia's going to have it in hand from the beginning and just hold it all the way through. But Charlie, I want to hear what you think. What should we expect from this matchup?
Oh, this will probably be a slaughter in the second half. This game will be good for the first half. I think Georgia Tech, until they wear down, will try their best to keep it close. But this down here, man, between these two schools, this is a big game, and there's a lot of pride involved in this game. And don't think for 1 second that either one of these teams are sleeping on the other one. Georgia's probably been game planning for this game for the last couple of weeks, really. Just, a little bit here and there in practice, because it's always a statement game down here, and especially between the hedges. Like Georgia has a tendency to not take their foot off the gas when they get a lead against Tech when they're at home. Mm-hmm. There's a second half team. Tech's been good. Tech's got some signature wins this year. They've hung on in some games that I think a lot of people probably thought that they shouldn't. They've got a talented look for a bunch of brainiacs. They've got a really talented squad this year. So I think that it'll be a good. Hey man, that's the Harvard of the South, man. It's the Harvard of the South.
Hey, don't knock the campus till you've been there. It's beautiful in Atlanta.
Hey, and if you ever do go down there, make sure you go next door and get you something from the varsity, because that's
get the varsity. Right, what do you have?
Philly cheeseburger and a pizza. Yep. What do you have?
That's
what do you have? What do you have? What do you have is a Georgia slaughter in the second half. So I could see it getting somewhere close to that number, but I'm going to be with you, Ben. I think a little bit under that. You said that 51. I think a little bit under that. But I could see Georgia putting up about 30, 32, 36. But going, like I said, man, going into this first half, because the Dogs, that they love to give their fans little mini strokes before they get to the second half. So that's what they're going to have to do in this game. It's tradition. So, if it's, 7-10 going into the halftime, that's not going to surprise me. But these are damn good Dogs, and they're going to come out in the second half. They'll make adjustments, and Georgia Tech will not have a chance.
You know what? I really should just call Georgia blister. They show up when the work's over. It's one of those things that they're last of the party, and I wish I could hate them more, but they've got a good team. Kirby Smart's a hell of a coach. I can't count right now. But
Ben, I think the Tech's going to keep it closer. I really do. Tech's had a signature season. They're looking good. They're looking good in the ACC. I mean, it all started out with that win in Ireland, and I think that they're coming in on a 2-game streak, including beating Miami. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I mean, yes, Georgia, I think, will pull out at the end, but I don't think it's going to be, Charles, I don't think it's going to be a slaughter in the second half. I think Georgia Tech is going to say, this isn't Georgia Tech of 3-8 where you run over us. This is actually a 7-4 team that is respectable and is bowl eligible at this point.
Well, that's fair. It's going to be a fun game to watch. Like I said, this is one I will be probably trying to key in if I can get my TV free to watch it. Moving on to Saturday, the game, Michigan at Ohio State. Look, make no mistake, if Michigan can come in and embarrass Ohio State, there's a legitimate case for why Ohio State wouldn't belong in the Final 12 if they were to get embarrassed. There are scenarios where Ohio State could, right now, as it plays out, they could still, whatever, I don't know. Ohio State's they're not that team for me, man. They're not. Michigan is going to play closer than 20 points. 42.5 for the over. This is not a 20-point game. But who am I kidding? Ohio State's going to win. I can just wish that they wouldn't. Steve, what are you thinking for this one?
I mean, this game, once again, as we talk about these rivalry games, this is bad blood. Even if these teams were 0-0, like, this game would still be a bloodbath. It's interesting with Oregon being, I mean, right now, if Oregon wasn't in the Big Ten and we kind of just throw them out, it would basically be Ohio State versus Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. As it stands now, Michigan can play spoiler, because if Michigan beats Ohio State, Penn State gets in if they beat Maryland. So there's a lot. And the fact that Michigan, and that's what blows my mind, is that recruit flipping to Michigan this week. And I'm like, wait a second here. Not even ranked, but still, that's what I'm saying. There's still the prestige of the school, even if they're not having that top tier year. Folks still want to be there. You still want to play this game. You still want to, as I say, everywhere you look, like, I'm not in Ohio, but I know people that live in Columbus, and there is no mention of it's all TTUN, that team up north. Like, they don't say that word Michigan this week. Like, it doesn't exist. So yeah, I will be glued to my TV for that game, because it's going to be phenomenal.
Well, while you're glued, make sure
it's not
things up, because there's more games to watch here in a second. But Charlie, before we go on to those, what's your take on the game this year?
The heart and soul of Michigan left for the NFL at the end of last season. That team is a shit show this year. They're 4-4 in their conference. They got a 6-5 record. They're going to end at 500. And this game is not going to be competitive at all. As much as you guys might want it to be, Michigan sucks. And Ohio State, with the 20th hardest schedule of the season, has played very well. And this is going to look a lot like the game that Ohio State just played last week. And in the end, it's going to be a blowout. Michigan can't hang. Last year's Michigan is gone. They're far from it. They haven't proven themselves in any game this season. And I don't expect them to all of a sudden turn a corner and be able to compete with a top-tier team. This will be a joke of a game. This will probably be one of the worst Ohio State-Michigan games that we've seen in the last 10 years. If Michigan scores, good for them, because that's probably all that they can do is score one time. It's going to be a terrible game. I'll go look at some Division II games that will be more exciting than this game will be this weekend. The Macy's Day Parade is going to be more exciting.
Who put Paul Feinbaum in Charles' skin tonight? I'm kind of curious right now. But whatever, dude. Let's talk about a game you do care about, apparently. Tennessee, another team in a precarious position here, frankly. They should be coasting into a playoff spot. But, to quote our favorite broadcaster, not so fast, my friend. Vanderbilt. Yes, you heard me. Vanderbilt is a giant killer this year.
Yes.
Can they play David and spoiler once again to own the state of Tennessee this year? No, they can't. Tennessee's going to win this game. I'm believe it's going to go crazy. This is the game that doesn't matter, Charles. This is the snooze fest. I'm not going to watch. This is where Nashville's going to implode. Look, Tennessee is going to smoke them, and they're going to cruise right up in that number 1, number 2, like at-large bid in the playoff seedings. This is Tennessee's game to show who they are, and they're going to.
This is going to be one of the most exciting games of the weekend. Are you kidding me? This game will be the best showing these two teams have put out against each other in the last 10 years. Vandy's got a chip on their shoulder. Vandy's got a chip on their shoulder. They know if they want to be the best team in Tennessee, they both beat Alabama. One of them's got to beat the other one. This is going to be a dogfight, man. This is going to be great. Look, I know it's weird to say this, but somehow Vandy figured out how to play football. I mean, this is another bunch of brainiacs. These guys figured it out. They've had a plan. They've showed up for most of the games that they've played. They've knocked off some top-tier teams. They're going to lose, but they're going to bring the fight to the Vols. It's going to be great. And at the end of this game, somebody else is going to get a fine. It's going to be fun.
Feinbaum has somehow grown younger and made himself on a desk of bacon. Paul Feinbaum, everyone. Glad to have him here on the show.
And talked faster. He doesn't talk as slow as he used to.
Oh, my gosh. Look, that is the most SEC homer take I've heard since I watched ESPN this morning, I guess. But what, you get the point. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Steve, bring some truth here to everybody, please.
I mean, why is Tennessee wearing an all-white football uniform for this game? Like, they called it the Snow Trooper uniform. Like, what are they trying to prove? Like, I just
no, the dogs just knocked all the color off their asses. That's all it was.
No, I'm with Ben on this. Like, this is just, I'm sorry. No, this is the game that, like, I am sitting here screaming that ABC picked this, like, Disney pick this game for ABC over South Carolina Clemson, which we'll talk about in a minute. Why are we watching what's I think is going to be a blowout on regular TV, and you're going to have to flip over to the pay channels to get what's probably going to be a much more competitive game? I get off my high horse with that. I've talked about that in the chat a bunch, but no, don't waste your time. You're going to have more fun watching Michigan, Ohio State than you're going to have watching this game.
No way. Let me remind y'all of this. Other than the South Carolina game, Vandy has either won or been within one score of their opponent at the end of every single game that they have played this season. They are stout, they are competitive, and they hang in there. They knocked off LSU. They knocked off Alabama. These guys have got some fight in them. And they're going to bring that fight right to the Vols' doorstep.
This isn't the Alabama or LSU of your granddaddy. Let's go look at what we have here right now also. There's both, 4-loss teams? 3 loss and 4 losses?
Vandy, 6-5.
So, no, I'm talking about here we have 3-loss Alabama. Not Nick Saban's Alabama. Kellen DeBoer's Alabama. And whatever.
It could still beat every team in every other conference.
I'm happy you can love yourself. I don't know, man. I don't know. Go watch some more tight ends play football, I guess. Brock Bowers looks good, by the way, for one of your Georgia Dogs will call out there. But South Carolina at Clemson.
It's the only one on that team that does.
South Carolina at Clemson has another for me too. This is another Clemson's on that edge of being in those wild cards, if you will want to call it that, for the extra sort of the at-large bid. They're at 12. South Carolina's Beamer's been getting weird wins all year. Like he loses some. I don't know. Clemson needs it, but they've not looked like. This game is confusing to me. I honestly can't think of how this is going to go because I'm looking at this at like there's more talent at Clemson, but Beamer will ug it up and make it interesting somehow. And Dabo's going to get angry. Someone, what's going to happen? Tell me, where do I go? Clemson?
This is the only game that an SEC team will lose to an out-of-conference team this weekend. South Carolina will fuck this up. That is what they do. They should beat Clemson. they're hotter right now. They've been playing better at the end of this season than they had the beginning of the season. But, dude, the Gamecocks this is the kind of game that they just screw the pooch on. And it'll happen again. Clemson has dominated them for the last, 10, 15 years practically. I mean, and I think in the end, Clemson has the better coach. And this game will come down to coaching, and Clemson will squeak by. It'll be close. It'll be a close game, but mark my words, South Carolina will do something in the fourth quarter to lose this game.
That'd be Beamer ball right there for you.
Yep.
Steve, what do you think here?
This is Clemson fighting for their playoff life, because right now they're ranked 12th, but they're the first team looking in because the Big 12 team has to leapfrog and get that final spot. So right now, South Carolina, I mean, they win this game. You've got a very compelling argument for the playoff that maybe we should be in. But I think what would happen is that almost the teams would flip, and South Carolina would end up being the first team out in 12 because you'd still have to slot the Big 12 team in. But still, this is pride. This is South Carolina playing Clemson. This is the Palmetto. I mean, this is always another game that you just want to circle. And I mean, it's in Death Valley this year, which means it's going to be loud. It's going to be rowdy. It's going to be Beamer's test. But I think that if you're looking for a chance for Beamer to pull it off, Dabo's not having this great of a year. I mean, there's been some questionable wins, and there's been some, I mean, looking back at the Pitt Clemson game, I mean, Pitt could have beat Clemson this year. I don't think that Dabo's as dominant as he is in some seasons. So I think it's going to be close, and I think South Carolina's got an honest chance to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the line's appropriate. I think the 3-point line, regardless, is interesting. I think that South Carolina keeps it close, but something stupid will happen in the fourth quarter, and we'll see South Carolina's dribble away.
That's what they do.
I'd be remiss not to mention Louisville and Kentucky. It's a fun game to watch most years. Louisville's clearly the better team. Kentucky probably has the worst luck of any team I've watched this year playing. Like, if there's a luck factor to key into your equation for a team, Kentucky's was negative this year by a long shot. A lot of bad bounces. Their best win is Ole Miss, which is a good win, but just a weird season in Lexington. So Louisville's a 4-point road favorite there. Kansas and Baylor has some intrigue here. I'm going to skip into that a little bit. This one has potential. Baylor's still in that, like, snowball's chance in hell, but still technically possible realm of a Big 12 championship game berth somehow. I forgot how it worked out exactly, but they're in the picture. Kansas is playing like a completely different team the last few games. Looking like they're all world again. This is a 1.5-point line towards Kansas on the road in Waco. That's a fun game to watch. I'm going to have you guys hit this one and I'll get at the same time. West Virginia at Texas Tech is another one that has some weird potential input into the Big 12 championship also this year. That is on FS1. That is a 3-point line to Texas Tech at home. Again, another high-scoring game in the Big 12. I think we got Kansas on the road winning. I think Texas Tech wins at home. Steve, what do you think for these two games?
I mean, I know more about game 2 that you mentioned there, but Kansas Baylor. I mean, we've got Big 12. I don't want to say in chaos this year, but the fact that you've got such, like, I want to say it's not mediocrity. It's not the right word, but it's just like every game, every week, it's just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I would like to see, the fact that Arizona State right now is the top team in the Big 12, just Arizona State. I mean, and for those of you who didn't pay attention to football last week, go back and watch the end of that game where it was insanity with 1 second to go in down there in Arizona. It was insane. But
they're not
Big 12
sober in Tempe, by the way. Just saying.
What's that, Ben?
They're not known for being sober on campus in Tempe. It's a pretty well-known party school. So
that's right.
Who can blame them?
That's right. But I think it's going to be. I mean, if you look at the 4 teams out of there, I follow West Virginia the closest, and that's another story that, beginning of the season, Pitt beat West Virginia. Everybody wanted to run Neil Brown out of town. Now West Virginia has pulled off some nice wins, and they're not having their best season, but there's not as much of a panic mode in Morgantown as there has been. So, you're going to have good football here. Let's put it that way. I think you'll have 2 games that you'll want to watch. There's a lot of stuff in the noon slot you'll want to watch, but I think you're going to have 2 good games.
Charlie?
So I don't think that Kansas is going to have – I don't think they have a chance in this. I really don't. They've been up and down they've been up and down this season. I just don't see it. I really not – I probably won't even watch anything but highlights from this game. It doesn't have much appeal to me at all. That conference in general has just been kind of ho-hum this season, as have a lot of them. But I just can't see an upset in this in that game.
Well, Kansas is the favorite, by the way. That's what
Are they?
They are.
What's the line?
The line's 1.5. The over is 61.5.
1.5. That's not a favorite. That's a that's like a draw.
That's points on the road.
That's true.
Favorite. I mean, that's something.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. And the thing is, too, if you look, four of their wins have come at home. They're 1-4 on the road this season. They haven't played well away from their home stomping ground. So I just don't see it. They can be the favorite. I think that's BS though.
Okay.
Of course, Vegas, they know. Vegas knows more than we do.
Somehow.
Let me say one thing to wrap up the Big 12 conversation here. 256 different scenarios are in play this weekend, depending on how the Big 12 plays out. 256 different scenarios could happen. That is absolutely insane.
That is the things that dreams are made of for those math nerds like myself. I love it. The MAC is crazy. Also, if you look at the details there, it's gotten kind of wild now in the MAC.
Please, let's talk about the MAC.
Some good Midwestern midweek college football, Charles? Is that not appealing to you?
No. Listen, look, the MAC. This could come down to it in his last week, providing some great games. All of these teams are very close from a competitive nature, and that's what brings good games. I really do. I think that a lot of the games that have MAC teams in them this weekend will be much more interesting than, say, Ohio State and Michigan. Much more entertaining.
Had to.
Yep.
Go Bowling Green.
Record that one. Let's play it back next week, guys.
Go ahead. Keep the receipts on that, please.
No problem. Well, I'll keep receipts, though. I'm going to throw some more games at you that you're going to hate because they're not your teams whatsoever. 2 Big Ten matchups coming up in the 3:30 window, East Coast, 2:30 Central. Penn State's hosting Maryland with 24.5-point favorites. Here's the thing. Hear me out because it's crazy. If Penn State loses this game, how can you possibly win a playoff if you can't lose to Maryland this year? Oh, what a 3-8 Maryland team in college! You can't be a playoff team and lose to that team. You can't. So to me, Penn State has to do what they're supposed to do here. They need to win. They had a very close game in Madison that moved away in the fourth quarter. They should have lost in Minneapolis. This Penn State team wanted to whine because they had to play an 11 o'clock or noon game for their whiteout when they had Ohio State in town. Mr. Franklin,
they should have lost. They should have lost to USC, Ben.
Yes, I agree there too. So all of this being said, Penn State could, but won't, screw it up against Maryland this weekend. I believe Allard is healthy right now too, so that should make them that much better on offense. Penn State's defense was fun to watch in person, even though it was killing my team. But look, this is going to be a lot of fun. Go Maryland, but I don't think it's going to go well for them. Second game, before we go to that too far, is USC hosting Notre Dame. Yeah, somehow a Big Ten game.
Oh, it's always a good one.
This game, to me, I think this is going to be a blowout for Notre Dame. Not because they're that good, but because LA won't care anymore. They're not ranked.
Yep.
You're not winning me a title. LA is all about the Dodgers right now. They were all LA Kings fans for a while. They were all Lakers fans for a while. LA doesn't care. Like, those Trojan shirts disappear faster. I'm not going to finish that analogy. Never mind. But look, the reality here is USC is going to get housed by Notre Dame this game. Penn State's going to have a close one. Maryland, they're going to win the game because Penn State can't win pretty. They're going to win ugly.
Yep. That's I was going to say, Ben, that's the problem with Penn State. Everybody wants to run Franklin out of town. And you can't mess up a game like this, even when you're in a pretty good position, playoff-wise, bowl-wise, etc.
Charles, you know who we're talking about? Franklin is the equivalent of Lane Kiffin in SEC terms. The guy who can't win the big game, but can make you right there all the time.
Yep.
Like, you have parallel Lane Kiffin and Franklin, they're the same thing.
Yeah. But here's the way I look at this for Penn State. This is the one that if Franklin messes this one up, there's going to be a lot of people doubting, even though but Indiana is sitting there in the wings, because if Penn State messes this up, Indiana then feels a lot more comfortable about where they're sitting for the playoff.
Yeah. So going to that game, Indiana is playing Purdue. Purdue is one of the worst teams in football this year. I don't think we'll know about there. Signe likes to pour it on when he has to, but no, I think we've got be interesting. Now back to the SEC here. Auburn at Alabama. This is not our normal Alabama. This is the Iron Bowl, and it is fun to watch. Hugh Freeze's Auburn team is so, like, they are the punchline of every joke because they're so bipolar. They'll, like, it doesn't make sense in Auburn. It never does. This is a weird school, a weird program that somehow Gus Malzahn's your best coach you've had somehow. I don't get it. But look, Auburn is going to be in a position here to officially light the Kill Bauer like fan club off in Alabama, which is already hot for losing 3 games this year. Oh, you poor babies. Look, I think Bama wins the game, if I'm being honest, but I think Auburn still will. This is still a fun game to watch. The Iron Bowl is always good. You will not regret turning this game on. This is an 11.5 point Alabama line with a 52.5 over. So I think the over is not attainable. I think this is an under game. And I do not think Alabama covers. I think this is going to be Bama wins, but Auburn takes the points. Steve?
2 things. Number 1, kick 6. This is where crazy things happen. The Iron Bowl has some of the biggest memories of the SEC. So I think that something may happen. Alabama will win this. I mean, Alabama's Alabama this year. I mean, but I think that you never know what to expect in this game. But I will say it is sad that we're not going to, it's normally that SEC on CBS tradition every year, this game. And for the first time, it's on ABC. So it's going to be a totally different feel to this game. But I'm always going to watch it. I mean, honestly, I'm probably going to be watching it more than Pitt at the same time, to be truthful with you. Because I always like watching this game. There's just something about this game on that Friday, or the not the Friday, but Saturday, the weekend, that makes it special.
And might remind everybody last year that this game almost changed history.
Yep.
Auburn, with 13 seconds left, had the game won.
Yep.
6 seconds, something like that. Like, this was Auburn went from like going to lose to going to win to we're absolutely going to win to we lost within such a small amount of time. Like, this was a crazy game to watch last year. Kick six is a memorable moment, but I don't know what they call last year, but I can tell you right now, it was one of the most entertaining games I've watched in all of football. It's so weird how fast things can go crazy with these two teams playing.
4th and 31, Ben. 4th and 31.
Make it make sense. Our SEC honk. Let me guess, Charlie, you hate this game because I said I liked it, or what wins? SEC or?
No, you know what? This is probably going to be, a pretty entertaining game. Auburn's going to throw 3 picks. Alabama's going to win by 14 points. Auburn has already left the house. They're focused on a sport they can actually win. It's called basketball. You guys should check it out. They're doing pretty damn good right now. They don't care. Auburn doesn't care. I mean, they do because it's the Iron Bowl, but they're a mess, dude. They do not have good quarterback play. This is the kind of offense that Alabama's defense will eat alive. It should be a good game. It'll probably have some pretty exciting or at least interesting moments. But I'm telling you, Auburn's going to throw 3 picks and Alabama's going to win this game by 14.
I'll tell you what. I'm probably waiting until 5:30 to turn this game on, and not just because I'm hunting until 4:30. It's that last half hour to hour I want to see this game anyway. But yeah, this is going to be a good one. Arizona is hosting Arizona State. Arizona State right now in the driver's seat to get the Big 12 spot in the playoffs. Going to be funky. Adam, I do see you, but I don't want to throw you in a conversation that you've not watched yet because it's not tape of draft picks.
I'm just here falling asleep listening to college sports talk.
So, I can fire back on so many levels right now. We'll get there in a bit. Look, Arizona State's got that game pretty handily, and then kind of cruises to the last of the games here, guys. We got a few more late. Then we'll get to the NFL. But mentioned before, Purdue playing at Indiana. Indiana should roll this game. This is a 29-point line. Then he might double that just because he can. It's going to be ugly. Florida is going to smoke Florida State. Tallahassee is going to burn down. Oklahoma at LSU is a weird one, but it's a fun one. And Washington's the game I want to talk about before we talk about the most important game for me of the weekend. Washington at Oregon could throw chaos into the Big Ten and into what we're doing overall. Not in the Big Ten so much as into what we see as a whole. Oregon, the clear number 1 seed in the country right now. This is weird too. The Washington-Oregon game gets weird, even if it's not in Portland. So, just saying, watch that one close. Oregon is a 19-point favorite. But the game of the weekend I wanted to bring up, and this is what I was hoping we get TJ on for, Texas is at Texas A&M. So, if you guys haven't had a chance yet, there's a really nice piece written up on ESPN about the 1999 fire tragedy at A&M. If you get a chance to read that, it really is a good piece. But anyway, all that being said, some students were killed in an accident with the big bonfire they throw on campus at A&M for this matchup. And as part of that result, part of the following weekend, the Texas band honored A&M in multiple ways. It's very, very cool, very moving. Check it out. But this game is an older rivalry that hasn't been played now in 13 years. Longhorns at Aggies. Texas is a 5-point favorite on the road here, but this is going to be a good game that is going to be worth tuning in for. Elko has proven me wrong. I thought he was a bad fit for A&M, and he's proven to be the guy for A&M. This is going to be fun. Guys, I'm going to throw to Charlie here first, but we've got Texas and Texas A&M somehow now an SEC matchup, not a Big 12 matchup. What do you think, and what do you expect in this game?
Oh, this is going to be a great game. This is two teams that have come out and played their asses off this season. These guys are going to match up really well as well. I like Texas a little bit more on the offense, and I think overall they are the better team. So I'm going to give the win to Texas, but if A&M comes out here and takes this game, it's not going to surprise me. But this will definitely be a battle. This is going to be a very exciting game to watch. There is so much on the line with this game. There really is. I mean, this game has the chance to change how the playoffs go for real. And so this is going to be exciting. It's going to be entertaining. These two teams, they do not like each other. And it does. It goes back a long time. And, Texas is a very proud football state. These guys, they take this stuff seriously. So I expect a real good dogfight in this one, but I do think that Texas, I think overall on both sides of the ball, Texas has probably got a slight edge, but definitely on the offense. So I think they're going to come away with it, but there'll probably be some scares for the Longhorns before they walk away with the win. Either way, this is definitely one you guys are going to want to watch.
By the way, the SEC would benefit if A&M were to win this game. This would put Texas as going to be a lock in the playoffs regardless. But the best chance we see to get more teams in is ironically to have A&M win the conference this year.
Don't think for 1 second that Texas is a lock. When the Dogs beat them for a second time, they're going to be on the fence getting into the playoffs.
A dog can dream. A dog can dream.
Not the dream. I've already seen it happen.
Steve, what do you think?
I'll go about random statistics about the game rather than a pick because Charles covered a lot of it there. This is the most expensive regular season football ticket on record between the NFL and college football. Is courtesy of Tick Pick, by the way. Current get-in price for the game is $741. Average purchase price for a ticket, $1,079. So if you thought you were going to have an easy time getting into Kyle Field this weekend, going at the last second and picking up a cheap ticket, doesn't look like it's going to happen. Ben, really quick before we move out of football, you missed a really great game in the ACC this weekend. Miami going to Syracuse. Syracuse is hot. Syracuse could be a spoiler. This could ruin Miami's kind of postseason way that they want to go about things, including even in the ACC championship game. If Syracuse upsets Miami, it twists things up a little bit more. So just want to throw that in really quick before we, make sure that Adam doesn't fall asleep here for the rest of the show.
Who's even starting for Texas? Have they just done the right thing and actually started Arch Manning?
I like to switch it around.
No, because now, no, not yet. Ewers is actually legit, by the way. Watch his tape. What I'm talking about. He is a good quarterback. But the quarterback I want to talk about first, watching tape, watch this Miami game because Cam Ward should be the first overall pick in the draft this year. This is a guy who went from obscurity to like Sacred Heart to Washington State, now to Miami, and has used the program well to put himself in a spot where this dude can flat out ball. This guy is a giant killer, and I would say he will be a better quarterback than Caleb Williams immediately.
That's not hard to do.
Charlie said it. I was thinking something mean. It's all good. Charlie and I have the same wavelength. But no, Caleb's fine.
Saying, guys.
There's only one player that should be one overall, and that's Travis effing Hunter. I know nothing of college football other than he is the best overall freaking player in college football.
He is. That's why he's the highest number. He's not first overall in a draft if you're smart.
And the other thing to keep in mind about the game up in Syracuse is they're expecting snow over the weekend, but because there's a dome, it's like Miami doesn't have to worry about the elements. So in other scenarios, playing in a Northeast city, I might be concerned about Miami, like not being able to pull us off. But basically, it's going to be like playing at home for them.
There are some spots up here that are going to get pummeled by this Thanksgiving Day storm. Like I was expecting. I heard last week, so I'm in Massachusetts, and I was seeing people talking about weather models of anywhere from like 8 inches to a foot. And one model had it at almost 2 feet. And this was statewide, but it's not cold enough for it to hit snow. So if in Syracuse, if it wasn't a dome, it would not surprise me. It's up there by the lakes where it's going to get probably lake effect too. Would not surprise me if they get pummeled. Syracuse, I keep hearing on and off about. You college folks, what's their deal? Why can't they get good?
Because they're not in the SEC.
Oh my God. I have been literally backstage for 40 minutes, and this MF over here just keeps talking about the SEC. Ben's trying to run an unbiased, non-SEC show, and Charlie keeps SECing it up.
Hey, what can I say? I like good football.
Speaking of good football, back to the Big Ten. No, look, we're going to pass by, but like I said before, guys, there's 40-plus games that matter this weekend. If you want to get a quick crash course on college football, if you've never really watched before, don't really get what the whole thing is about, this weekend is a weekend for you. Watch College Game Day. Watch the games play out. It's crazy. It's fun. It is a good time. But moving
is this like the penultimate weekend for college football before
it's
like
rivalry.
Championships are decided?
It's rivalry weekend.
It's rivalry weekend. Okay, I was going to say, I'm like, I've never, let alone us having a segment that lasts almost an hour on college football, but you know, like I know there's one of those weekends that get there right before like all the championship games are decided, thus deciding bowl games, thus where the playoffs are going to be. Also, congratulations for the NCAA actually doing what they should have did 8 freaking years ago, and that's making it a 12-game playoff.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. It's one of those spots where 12 is not going to be enough. I can tell you, it's going to be a snowball. We're going to keep watching.
Fantastic.
Let me say one thing before we leave this college football discussion. If any of y'all want to come at me about this wins-loss bullshit with the playoffs, you damn sure better come at me and defend why Army, with their one loss, should be on the playoffs. And if you're not prepared to do that, then fuck off. Your argument has no merit.
Well, and now for something completely different. NFL football.
That's for you, Combsy.
Oh my gosh.
The Bears and Lions are playing our opening game tomorrow at 11:30 Central. It's a CBS game somehow. Do the math, someone, because I can't. Look, 9.5-point favorites for Detroit. I think it's more than that in this game. The Bears have found creative ways to lose, as I put it in the broadcast this past week.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
It's Detroit and Campbell are ready to bite some kneecaps, and it's going to get ugly in Ford Field this weekend. Gentlemen, please tell me I'm wrong.
No. Yeah, here's the thing, Ben. Just quick explanation. CBS gets one game, Fox gets the other. Both of the traditional teams are the Lions and the Cowboys. They're both NFC teams. That's why CBS gets one of the games on Thanksgiving.
No, understood.
See, and usually I think with that, I feel like one of the teams always seems to play an AFC team.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dallas seems to always play an AFC team on Thanksgiving, so then they automatically go on CBS. But this year both are playing NFC teams, so I don't.
You just and with the way the scheduling is, toss that out the window anymore. Aaron, that's out the window.
Yeah.
So
I don't mean to rag on you college guys. I'm actually like, and Ben makes a really good point. As much as I rag on all these guys for watching us, I live in New England. We don't have any big college programs up here. A lot of us don't really. I don't care.
Go to college.
But Ben does make a good point with how many games that they've talked about. If you're not into college football and you have time this weekend, tune in and watch some of the games and see what rivalry weekend is all about and why some of these games are massively huge. Ben, how many implications did you say this weekend before we talk about how shitty the Bears are?
40 games have a play in either a bowl berth, a conference championship berth, or a playoff berth. It's 40 games legitimately have.
That is ridiculous.
So
go tune in and watch that. I'm going to give you a hot take on this one. I think this game is closer than people think. I think the Lions are going to win. I would take the under on 9.5. Give me a little something. Maybe it's just because my main DFS stack is Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze. But there's got to be something ever since the offensive coordinator change. Why they hired Shane Waldron to begin with, I have no idea. But did Caleb find something? Or you're not running on the Lions. You're not running on one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Caleb Williams last week I think threw for some stupid amount of time. It was like 47 pass attempts.
Yeah.
Some ridiculous number. He's going to have to do that again. Here's the problem. The Lions have a high-powered offense. Their secondary still isn't good. They've got the pieces. Terrion Arnold hasn't been able to stay healthy. They just lost Anzalone now as a linebacker. This defense is hurting. This isn't like the Eagles secondary when you have the best first 2 rounds of the last year's draft getting Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. That defense is still a work in progress. I think Caleb Williams, if he's as good as people think he is, or even somewhat competent in this game, you get it to your best playmakers. Last week, there was no Gerald Everett. There was none of these other guys. It was your 4 best offensive players out there, and you got your ball to your 4 best offensive playmakers. Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and Cole Kmet each had over 10 targets. Yet it was DJ Moore on 7 targets who blew up everything.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be closer than the 9.5. I still think the Lions are going to win. But I do think it's closer than the 9.5 point spread.
You know, to Adam's point about, the game being closer, this game reminds me, you remember, was it last Thursday? When was the Cleveland at Pittsburgh game, or the Cleveland Pittsburgh Thursday?
Yeah, last Thursday. Last Thursday.
Remember in the chat group we were looking at the line, which I think was like 3.5 for Pittsburgh or whatever, and I think Troy said it. I think I may have said it. A bunch of us were talking about this. This seems like this should be easy money. And Steve, you brought up a graphic that showed, I think, the last 6 times that Pittsburgh went to Cleveland, they were like 1-4-1.
Yep.
I was talking to a guy earlier in the week on Facebook who happens to be a Lions fan, and we were talking about the Packers-Lions, rivalry and how the Lions have pretty much owned the Packers the last few years at Lambeau. But then I said, I brought up last year's Thanksgiving game and the Packers pretty much running away with the game. And he made the comment, he's like, for whatever reason, the Lions don't necessarily play well on Thanksgiving, even though you think they should, because you think they should be pumped up for it. It's the national game. They're finally a team that's actually favored possibly to win the Super Bowl. And that's something to kind of keep in mind. Not, again, I agree with Adam. I don't think that Chicago has a chance to win this game, but it might be closer than we all think. If I was a betting man and somebody put a gun to my head, I would probably still take the Lions to cover, because you win by they could win by 10, they could win by 14. It could still be a somewhat close game.
They could win by 20 with how high potent that offense is right now.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, you could still have a close game all throughout, and then maybe they score late and they go up by 14 and they win. They cover, whatever. But I mean, realistically, the Lions should win by three touchdowns. But
I think something to keep in mind here, Aaron and everyone, is that Montgomery and St. Brown look like they're going to be playing tomorrow, which is, I think, going to help the Lions.
Sure,
it's gonna help their offense, especially I think Montgomery. But of course, once again, it's an indoor game, so it's not going to have the weather element that it would have if it was Lions at Bears. but I think that Dan Campbell, he realizes, I think he knows this is the year that he's got the keys to the car and that this is his chance to take the team to the promised land. And this is a game that they can't mess up, because if they put this in the win column, it's another one that they can lose later in the season that they shouldn't lose and still keep themselves in very good contention for the top of the NFC for playoff seeding.
To bring it back to Aaron's point, I don't know about you all. Thanksgiving, we're all hanging out with our families, eating food right around that noon, 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30. Everyone's got the app starting to sit down for food. For years, it's like, oh, well, the Lions are playing. They suck. They're not doing anything. Skip that game. Give me to the Cowboys game. Give me to that late night game that's usually a marquee one. I want to see the Lions can just dominate now on their end of things. Sonic and Knuckles should absolutely dominate. ASB is back. Charlie Sun's favorite player on the planet. If you know, he keeps talking about it. Christmas gift is going to be a giant ASB fathead that's going to go on his wall. But yeah, like this game is going to be fun. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and Charlie, I'll throw it to you since you haven't talked about this yet. I think this is a big prove-it game for Caleb Williams. Can you hang with arguably the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl?
So here's the thing with this game. Caleb has been playing a lot better. New offensive coordinator seems to have brought out possibly the best in DJ Moore, and I think that is a huge, huge factor. The best corner for the Lions is out. Their corners are suspect as it is. If Detroit has a weakness, that is it.
Yep.
And I feel like with the rhythm that the Bears have had, that they can hang with the Lions for a while. That being said, we've seen this all season, that the Lions do not take their foot off the gas.
No, they
I don't know if the Bears are a team that are capable of scoring enough points just at all to beat the Lions, because they are going to score, and they're going to score a lot. Look, Sun God's questionable. Montgomery, and we could talk about the revenge game narrative, but I mean, he's already been there. He's already had the revenge games. He's already done well against them last season when they played. So I don't think that is as much of a factor. He's already proved his point to them. Not to mention, that's a shoulder injury. Running backs taking hits with a shoulder injury is not a good thing. I'm not sure how much he plays. On the other hand, the less he plays, the more Gibbs plays. Gibbs has been phenomenal.
I think this is a Gibbs game.
I cannot see the Bears containing him, especially in the passing game. That guy, man, these little pitches to him to the outside, man, he knows how to get loose and cook it. Look, Sonic got some speed. So I think it'll be a fun game. It will by far be the best game on the slate, in my opinion, for tomorrow. And I feel like the way that Chicago's been playing, they have a chance to keep it close for a while, but I just don't think they have enough gas in the tank to beat them when it's all said and done. I mean, we've seen Detroit put up 50+ points multiple times this season, and I feel like on Thanksgiving,
I think they have 4 games this season over 40 points scored.
Yeah, and at least 2 of those they've scored over 50. Yeah. So and look, the Thanksgiving games mean something. Guys come out and they play. You know, they're hungry. Everybody's hungry on Thanksgiving. And these guys are no different. So I think that this will be an exciting game. I'm actually looking quite forward to it. As of right now, ASB is questionable, but I hear he's going to play.
Yeah, I expect him to play.
Montgomery, I think they've said that Dan said that he was, not as concerned with him, but I feel like that might just be coach speak. That if he's out there, he's going to be more of a decoy than anything else, which actually may be a good plan for him. I mean, he'll still punch in a 2-yard touchdown, though, because that's just what the dude does. But I expect a really exciting game, and I think that as the season has gone on and the Bears have kind of come together a little bit more on offense, that's going to lead to a pretty decent matchup. I mean, clearly Detroit is the better team by far. I mean, leaps and bounds. But that one weakness that they have is starting to look like the Bears' strength. So they've got a shot. I mean, it's a long shot in the dark, but the Bears, I mean, they have a shot. I just don't quite think they're going to get there yet. But I think this is going to be an exciting matchup for the next few years. I'm actually pretty excited. Y'all's division, it just in general, has been pretty exciting. Is kind of leaning itself towards a lot of pretty strong matchups if these teams stay kind of the same for the next few seasons.
It's kind of like the SEC of the NFL.
Hey! Don't discount the AFC North too. I'm sorry, it's both of the Norths that I think are like the SEC of pro football.
We could combine the two North divisions and make one big SEC of the NFL. That's great.
Please
That would be fantastic.
Don't give Goodell any ideas.
Sorry, Ben. This show is derailed all of a sudden here. All the SEC talk.
It's gone. Fine. It's a holiday. We're approaching it.
I'll tell you this. For DFS, you are starting Gibbs or you are losing. You are starting Gibbs or you are losing. What is he like? I think he's close to 8. What is he, 72?
He's not high enough.
On FanDuel?
He's like 7K something.
Yeah, I think it was 72.
Just to illustrate how much Chicago is going to have to throw. Chicago is the 5th worst team in the NFL versus the running back position. They've given up 26 fantasy points per game, schedule adjusted fantasy points per game. Detroit is 8th best against the run. Caleb Williams and the Bears are going to have to throw. So basically what we're doing, and Ben, I think the reason we're spending so much time on this, none of us in here probably want to talk about the second game on the Thanksgiving slate.
God.
We'll just skip that game.
Let me say one thing before you move off of this. You're talking, Adam, about the time of eating. I'm the opposite. I get to be making things and enjoying the first game. I'll be eating while the stupid second game is on.
Absolutely.
So I'm actually really happy.
He's got the right idea.
That's when you eat.
We are eating at 4:30 tomorrow. I don't have to watch much of that sleeper tomorrow afternoon.
We're going to watch that new Jack Black Santa movie during that game.
So, we're talking about the Giants-Cowboy game. Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites. Who cares?
Exactly.
Mike McCarthy saved his job for another week, beating Washington, but he's still getting fired. The Cowboys suck. The Giants suck.
Their stadium is falling apart.
How bad do you have to be to only get 3.5 points on the Giants?
Guys, tickets are $25 right now, according to ESPN, to go to this game. I mean, it's
unlike the $1,000 tickets for the Texas A&M game.
That's where everybody's going.
Man, they're never going to repair that roof with that kind of ticket price.
The game sucks, but a game that doesn't suck. The Packers are hosting the Dolphins.
Yes!
A few weeks ago, I was actually worried this game would kind of suck, and we'd get an easy win. And now I got to be a little bit worried. Well, why am I worried? Well, I don't know. Achan's playing well. Mostert's healthy. You've actually got Johnny Smith doing something for a change without having to have his Art Smith on the decision-making side for him. Tyreek Hill's there. Tua's playing better.
Tua can't play in the cold.
Tua can't take a hit. But that doesn't matter. I mean, end of the day, it doesn't going to matter. Miami can't play in the cold. It's going to be in the 20s tomorrow night, maybe.
Nice.
Like, it's going to be cold as freaking balls for this game. So, yeah, the Dolphins are going to get froze out. Dolphins don't swim in fresh water, and we're going to flush them right back down the south where they belong. Packers are 3.5-point favorites, 47.5-point over. Take the over, take the Packers, lay the points. There, so it's easy.
Packers boys, you know how much I'm a fan of the Packers. You know that my uncle was a fan of the Packers, and thus they became my default favorite team to root for growing up. What are you guys going to do without Dobbs in this game?
Doesn't
Are
matter.
you going to focus more on Reed? Are you going to finally decide you want to get Wicks involved?
Here's a problem you have. Wicks and Watson are the same guy in this offense, essentially. Tucker Kraft is, if you're not taking him in daily fantasy, you're stupid also, by the way.
No.
Tucker Kraft is,
No.
I'll hit you later on that.
Take the tight end in Miami.
Jonnu Smith is no.
Absolutely. Averaging
Miami.
14 points a game. Tyler Kraft is touchdown dependent. He had one big game for fantasy. He hasn't put up double-digit points the rest of the season unless he scores a touchdown. Do not use him for daily fantasy, especially where his price is. All of the tight ends are priced fairly low this week. Pay up for Miami's tight end.
So here we go. Miami, 26th best against opposing tight ends. Schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. They're giving up 15.9 fantasy points. Green Bay is 25th, giving up 15.3 fantasy points. Play both tight ends, just not in the same lineup.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, Miami's defense is not going to stop the Packers' offense. Josh Jacobs was shown last week to be our offense for this time of year, and I'm good with that. Emmanuel Wilson is the spellback for him. We're going to run all over this Miami defense that's banged up anyway.
Yep.
And it's going to be a Packer easy win.
They already suck against the
Well,
run
now
as
look,
is.
No, but they have progressively gotten better, and the stats will show that. Miami's defense has come around on the run. They have actually the script is actually flipped. They are easier to throw on now and have been over the last 4 or 5 games than they are to run against. If you want to take a Packer in DFS, Reed is the way to go. He'll be a cornerstone wide receiver for your DFS lineup. Don't let the early season stats fool you guys. Miami has gotten much more stout against the run over the last 4 or 5 games. They've really come together. They're easier to throw on now.
See, I actually avoid Packer wide receivers because it's too unpredictable. Because they do flip to Dobbs one week, to Melton one week.
It's Reed's turn.
It's just who they want to use. That's why people can't defend them, because they don't know who to cover with their primary guy. You figure out who you want to pick on, and that's why they've been good that way. But moving forward, I'm going to
go Pack go. And for those of you who don't like Chris Collinsworth, sorry to interrupt you, Ben. He gets the night off on Thanksgiving.
Thank
Jason,
God.
it's Mike Tirico and Jason Garrett calling the game on Thursday night.
Well, that's just weird. Aaron,
really?
Before I cruise into the Sunday games.
That's going to be an interesting pairing.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I'm sure that it'll be better than having Tom Brady call the game. That's for damn sure. But it'll be an interesting pairing.
Try to put Jason Garrett for you. Aaron, hit that Packer game while I get the Sunday games pulled up here quick.
Yeah, you know, I will say this, Ben. I hope you are right. And while I like Steve's idea of eating at 4:30, if you're going to the Packer game, I would be asleep if I ate at 4:30. So, so I okay. And I need to apparently take the dogs out. My wife is yelling at me on the text. So, but I'll just say this: I hope Ben is right. The only thing that concerns me with this this game is if our defense can stop those wide receivers for Miami, and I realize that Tua has to be able to get him the ball. It's just that wild card really kind of it makes me nervous. I'm not worried about scoring on their defense. I'm worried about us getting into some kind of a shootout and Tyreek Hill and Waddle just going nuts on Packers, especially with Jair Alexander out. But I will take, again, gun to my head, I'm taking the Packers. I'm taking the points. I think it could be like a 27-21 kind of game, something like that. But I hope I'd love to see another blowout like we did on Sunday. I enjoy those games too. I don't need to have a last second field goal every damn game. So
Are either of you two going to the Thanksgiving game?
I am.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not taking my son.
We actually tried to sell the tickets just to get some money for Christmas presents, and it's the night games are a hell of a lot harder to sell than like a noon game. They just
Even
are.
on Thanksgiving?
Even on Thanksgiving, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like, because we put them on Ticketmaster for like $190 a piece, and they're about $160 at face value. And I said to my wife, I'm like, look, I'm not. If we got to go below face value, I'll take our daughter and we'll go, because Angie didn't want to go, and she's like, I'll be tired, I'll be drinking wine all day. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take Delaney, and we'll be fine. So we're gonna end up going.
Daddy-daughter date. There you go.
Holiday
Yeah,
games are
absolutely.
the best.
They are. All right, we have one a couple years ago when they played Cleveland on Christmas at Lambeau. We have a family picture. We got 2 extra tickets, so we took the kids. Angie and I both took the kids then, and it's like one of our favorite holiday pictures.
That's
awesome. Oh, yeah.
It's not like a well dressed one. It's just us in our snow gear and our Packer garb. And I think it's my Facebook page or my Facebook profile picture.
Nice.
But yeah. Anyway, here, I'll be right back, guys. I gotta go take the dogs out, and you guys
have fun.
Continue talking. Yeah.
Yeah, AJ and I went to the Colts game on Christmas Eve last year when they played the Falcons.
That's
Best
right.
Christmas ever. Oh, it was incredible. They lost.
Yeah.
I don't even care. It was so awesome.
Yeah.
Holiday
So
games are
so
great.
we're all picking the Packers to win.
Yeah. It's the Chiefs Raiders. Chiefs are going to win that game. I'm going to skip by that one.
No, that's
Skip
gonna be a
it. It's the Chiefs.
snooze.
Skip it.
They
Yep.
couldn't have given us a better matchup for the one Friday game. Like I
Hey,
get
it's
historically,
it's gonna be
historically, it's a fun game.
It's going to be
Boy.
better than any of the college games in that window. That 3:30 window is horrible for college. Watch the Chiefs. Watch the Raiders at least
SEC
try.
teams are playing.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, Falcons are hosting the Chargers at 1.5 points to the Chargers, 47.5 over.
That's going to be a good game.
It's going to be a good game. I think Atlanta wins this game. They've got a way of winning games in Atlanta.
Kirk's better at home.
So I feel like the Chargers are a good team. They're playing well, but and the Falcons win this game and beat. Not only did they beat that line, they win themselves flat out. So I got Atlanta straight. Who else is taking Atlanta here? Steve?
Falcons.
I'm not taking the
Chargers.
Chargers.
No.
Chargers.
Chargers are mad. They're mad.
They lost the Harbaugh Bowl.
You got to stop Lamar if you want to win. All right. Moving through to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Cincy's a 3-point favorite in this game.
Yep.
The home points, essentially.
Yep.
Again, 47.5 of the over here. I don't know what I'm missing. To me, Pittsburgh wins straight here also.
Nope.
No.
I think since he makes a massive run at the playoffs, their defense is so freaking atrocious. Is the reason they are struggling. Like Burrows had a phenomenal year, not being talked about enough.
MVP.
Chase is having a phenomenal year, not being talked about.
Yeah.
Chase Brown come out of nowhere as their lead running back, not being talked about. Their defense sucks.
But
that's
the problem with this game, and you got it exactly right. Russell Wilson, I don't think has played a complete game yet as quarterback of the Steelers. And
from an NFL
Joe Burrow is looking a lot better as the season's progressed.
Agreed.
And I'm very much a Cincinnati 3-point favorite. I'm once again AFC North. These are all trap games. Especially being in Cincinnati. This is not going to be. I'm sweating.
I think if it was in Pittsburgh, Steve, I think I'd have the Steelers winning that.
I'm sweating this one a lot. A lot of the country's getting this game, except for you idiots in the Northeast. You have to watch the Patriots, and you guys in Atlanta will get the Chargers Falcons
I
game.
watch Red Zone. I get all of them.
Oh no!
All right, look.
It helps me to not watch how bad the
No,
Patriots are.
no. I think the Steelers will probably win the game, but Joe Burrow. I mean, after the Joe Burrow Jamar Chase fiasco a couple weeks ago for us fantasy people that were on the losing end of that, Cincinnati. They got a shot.
Hey, look, if Cincinnati's record was better, we would all be talking about Joe Burrow for MVP. That guy has had a phenomenal statistical season, and it's not him. It's not the offense. Adam, you're right. That defense is absolutely terrible, but they've had an extra week to get ready for this game.
Yep.
And I think that they're probably going to try to make some tweaks, come out a little bit better as a defense. But this offense is hands down better than the Steelers' offense is. I mean, it's not even a contest. I'm telling you, these guys statistically, what they're doing in some of these games on the offensive side of the ball is freaking phenomenal. Like, it's a shame their record is what it is because Joe Burrow is having an MVP caliber season.
But
and they're going to turn it around right here this weekend. Cincinnati goes on a win streak and possibly fights their way into the playoffs. It all starts this week when they beat the Steelers.
The one thing, I just looked up Joe Burrow because I was like, what's going on? Because don't forget, he's had that surgically repaired wrist. 5 headlines in a row. Joe Burrow concerned about surgically repaired wrist in cold versus Steelers.
Yeah, that's just, everybody's concerned about everything. But when he gets out on the field, he does the damn thing.
Yeah,
and we've seen it time and time again.
Let's not forget that divisional games. Look, I thought Steelers-Ravens 2 weeks ago was going to be by far a high-scoring affair, and it was the kicker game, right? Like, I really don't know what to do. I think Cincy wins, but I think the Steelers will keep it close because it's a divisional game. So, Ben, are you still with us?
Oh, barely.
Oh boy.
No, so technical difficulties in my household, not my internet this time, believe it or not. But yeah, so thank you for bearing with me through that one.
You're fine. We miss seeing your bright and smiling face.
I try to work on the cheeks just for you guys,
We'll appreciate that. Thank you for putting on pants this week.
Sorry?
Thank you for putting on pants this week.
Well, that's how I treat you guys. I don't want to go the full on.
I kid. What's the next game on the slate?
We got Minnesota hosting Arizona. And this is it's
going to be fun.
This is a fun game to me. 3.5 point. Minnesota's minus 3.5, so Arizona's plus 3.5. This is a fun game.
Yep.
The Cardinals are in a spot where they can kind of write their own destiny right now. They've played good enough. They're not a good team yet. But they're not a bad team either. And they don't know well enough to know that they're not good. So this is one of those teams that can be pesky. And honestly, I think Minnesota kind of sleeps in this one a little bit. They got by somehow. They're trying to give Chicago the game last weekend. And this one to me is interesting. I think Minnesota should win, but it wouldn't shock me if the Cardinals get the upset in this one. Steve, what do you think?
I think that the Cardinals, if they play on all cylinders, I mean, think about it. Why did the Vikings go after Daniel Jones with Sam Darnold having such a good season? But I digress. I think the Cardinals will win this game, but I think I think it's going to be a classic. It's going to be a good game to watch. And with it being indoors, it's, I always look at the weather as a fact. I mean, it's indoors. It's 2 teams that primarily play indoors. I think you're going to have a great game. Really do.
Yeah, I like this game from an entertainment standpoint. You got both of these teams have been pretty interesting to watch. I think a lot of us might be surprised at what Minnesota has been able to do this season, especially with the QB they have at the helm. But hey, man, now they got Daniel Jones, so it'll be all right. They're gonna come in and let him throw a couple of just plays just to throw everybody off. No, that would be funny to see though. Arizona has been hot and cold all season. It's like a tale of two cities with that team. So it really is going to depend on, what team shows up for Arizona. If Murray is firing on all cylinders, I think this will be a really competitive game. But Minnesota's hungry, man. They see those playoffs and they know that they can get there. And if they're going to, they've got a tough division to play in. So I think they know that they've got to take these out of division games, especially against a team like Arizona that's just barely hanging on to being above 500 on the season. So I think ultimately they'll get it. They're at home. They'll have a little bit of an advantage, not as much because it is indoors, but definitely a fun game to watch. I think Minnesota ends up taking this one by a touchdown.
Adam?
This game is interesting. Darnold has not been himself the last several weeks. Excuse me. He's been his normal self and hasn't been his out-of-worldly ridiculousness self that he has been to start the year. And I'm not saying he's bad. Really, he's been competent. He's put up competent numbers. He's thrown 5 interceptions in the last 3 weeks. That's not good. When 5 of those interceptions comes against the Colts and the Jaguars, that's not a good thing. Now, Arizona, what Kyler is going to show up, I think determines this game.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Yep.
If he's firing all cylinders, they've got a shot, but he's been so up and down.
I'm quite frankly pissed that Harrison Jr. has not been well used. That is one of the best freaking wide receivers in the NFL, and the dude is not being utilized like it. I'm sorry, he's not. He's not.
What's sad with that point, though, is that Brian Thomas is good. Don't get me wrong. But Marvin Harrison's better than Brian Thomas. We know this.
Absolutely.
But they're used so differently, it's ridiculous. Like Brian Thomas versus Marvin Harrison, it's kind of, again, in the fantasy world, that's it should be Harrison all day. But if you're being honest right now, you kind of double clutch that one a little bit because Thomas has been so consistent.
Yep.
Well, the thing, too, though, is that in Arizona's passing game, they've relied a lot on the tight end, and they have an outstanding tight end as well. They've, gone a lot with James Conner, who's having
Have you seen his stats the last 2 weeks?
Overall,
against the Jets, 12 attempts, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. Against the Seahawks, 7 attempts, 8 yards, no touchdowns. What's going on?
Both of those defenses are very stout against the run.
But 8 yards against the Seahawks. 8.
He's having a great season for who he is. And they have leaned on him. They have leaned on him a lot this season, as well as their tight end. They're not letting Murray throw the deep ball nearly as much. They're trying to keep him contained a little bit. I think they realize what they've got in him, and they're letting him play manageable football. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. We'll see how it goes this weekend.
Mm-hmm. No, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. I just don't know. Look, the rest of the slate's hard to really go to games you want to look at. I'm going to throw Baltimore-Philly as the next one up here for us. Baltimore are 3-point home favorites, 51.5 for the over. Philly keeps winning games. They shouldn't, and Baltimore keeps losing games. They shouldn't. I mean, I feel like I should be saying that the Eagles are going to win this game somehow, but I want to say the Ravens win, but I'm also skeptical because I know what's happened lately. So I guess, look, I'm going to go to you guys. if Steve, I'll start with you, come around the horn here. Who are you picking this game and why?
It's gonna be one of those games that what Philadelphia team shows up. If Barkley has a great game and Hurts plays well, they've got a chance. But at the same time, if Lamar at home just knocks the pants off, I mean, this could go either way. You're going to have a good contingent of Philly fans invading Baltimore. So it's going to be a very, I think games nationally, everybody gets this game on CBS in the late window. So have a great time with it on Sunday. But, if you look at me right now and say who's going to win, it's going to be Baltimore by the skin of their teeth. But I'm not saying Baltimore by a field goal because Justin Tucker's having problems this year. And so he is not as reliable as he's been in the past. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well as you look at what's going to happen with this game.
All right, Charles?
So this is one thing, and I've, being someone whose team is in the AFC South, I've seen a lot of King Henry. And here's one thing. He shows out when there is another top RB on the other side of the battlefield. He does. If the other team's got a good running game, he thinks he has something to prove. Saquon is not getting 140-plus rushing yards against the Baltimore defense. It is not going to happen. Nope. On the other side of the field, though, King Henry is going to do his best to hit that mark just to make sure that everybody is very clear about who the number one running back in the NFL actually is. This is going to be a great game. It's going to be a bruising game with two good defenses, two very athletic quarterbacks, and the top two running backs in the game right now. I love this matchup. I think Baltimore, being at home, is going to get the best of them, but I'm with you, Steve. It's going to be close. They're going to find a way to win this game, and that's what good teams do. They find a way to win, and the better team out of these two is going to do that in the Baltimore Ravens. And look for, I don't know which receiver it'll be, but one of these receivers or tight ends for Baltimore is going to come out and have 2 touchdowns, and that'll end up being the deciding factor. They're going to run all day long, both of these teams. And one receiver for Baltimore is going to step up, just like they have pretty much every game this season. It feels like it's somebody different every Sunday with these guys. But one of them's going to do it. This is probably, to me, the most exciting game on Sunday. Normally, I think that's the Colts, but they're going to just absolutely handle the Patriots. That's not going to be exciting. But this one is going to be fun to watch. I cannot wait to watch this one. But I think, look, Lamar is just a little bit better. King Henry is just a little bit better. And I think that Baltimore hangs on and wins this one.
Yep. Charlie, please destroy the Patriots. Please let us get a better.
We're holding on to that playoff hope. Good. It's a long shot, but we're still holding on to it for some reason. Please. Just like for some reason we're holding on to our dumbass GM.
Yeah. Please be
Fire
that. We can get Kelvin Banks Jr. or Will Campbell. Anyway, I'm going to come out and say this exactly as it is. The Eagles are the second best team in the NFC. Behind the Lions. This is a prove-it game for them. It's a prove-it game for their defense. If they can come out and shut down Baltimore, the NFC Championship between the Lions and the Eagles is going to be fireworks. Whoever comes out of that wins the Super Bowl. Plain and simple. It's that simple. There is no team outside of the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC that have a freaking chance at sniffing a Super Bowl title this year. You got to get by either the Lions' high-powered, bite-your-kneecaps off offense, or you got to get by the most well-balanced team in the NFL in the Philadelphia Eagles. if Saquon Barkley goes out and breaks over 100 rushing yards and 2+ touchdowns against this stout Baltimore rush defense, he's the clear choice for MVP, in my opinion. He's already up there for MVP as it is. If he can put the hurting on the Baltimore rush defense, he's the MVP, period.
It should be him or Henry. It really should.
I do think the Ravens squeaked this out by a field goal, but this is a prove-it game for the Eagles. Can they hang with the best team in the AFC? Possible Super Bowl matchup right here this Sunday.
Aaron?
Yeah, I say I'm going to take Baltimore only because they're at home. I mean, I would agree that there's going to be Steve, was that you that said that you thought there'd be a decent size Eagles, fan base there? But if this was in Philadelphia, I'd probably take the Eagles. I think it'll be like a 24-20 game, something like that. But it'll be a great game. This is going to be one of those weekends where I'm glad the Packers aren't playing, because then I'll just be able to sit back and relax and watch NFL Red Zone, and maybe flip over to this game in the late window.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. This is the good stuff. The night game to me is a snooze, but it'll be fun for the weather.
Yes.
Buffalo should get dunked on.
Yeah.
Fun to watch.
Ben, what are your thoughts on the Eagles-Ravens game? You're not getting out of this scot-free there, scooting us to the next game. What do you think about this game?
The Ravens should win. They're the better team, but they're not playing consistently enough to convince me that they'll definitely do it. There's been the Raiders game, the Browns game. There's those games are there that are hard to ignore. And yeah, they looked good against the Chargers kind of this past week, but I want to see more from this defense. This is not a Baltimore defense right now. So I'm looking at this. I think that Philadelphia can score on them. They've got, I don't know. To me, the Ravens should win, but knowing my luck, the Eagles will win. Look, as far as going past after the Buffalo game, Buffalo 7-point favorites at home, will be a snow globe game. Put this on, put your tree up, have a good family time. It's gonna be fun to watch and beautiful.
Y'all's tree ain't up already?
Friday, man, it's tradition.
Shit, I'm staring at mine right now.
We put ours up already too. Yeah.
Yep.
Last game
after Thanksgiving.
Denver against Cleveland. Denver 5.5-point favorites, looking good. Apparently, Jameis Winston has things to say about the games he's playing in.
He's entertaining. He is fun to watch.
Senior Crab Legs, fun to listen to.
Yes.
But look, to me, this is a slam dunk. Bo Nix has proven me wrong. I was wrong about him.
Same.
He is better than I thought. I still think he is
It's
more
good coaching.
Well, he's still more Sam Bradford than he is Matt Stafford.
Oh, shit.
So that's as far he needs to do more for me in terms of I still have Auburn, Bo Nix in my head. I know how bad the guy can look in a football game. How his first 3 starts not throwing a touchdown. There's bad Bo Nix in there. I don't trust him, but he's playing well. San Fran's beat Oblivion. Whatever hope they had left of trying to be decent, the Packers snuffed out of them this past weekend as well.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic.
So, look, yeah. But so of these 2 games, I think the Denver game's a better game. They're both going to be runaways to the home team. Denver smokes Cleveland. Buffalo smokes San Fran. Anyone got anything to tell me I'm wrong?
Nope. Buffalo and Denver.
Oh, yeah. Buffalo's going to destroy them. This is Buffalo's kind of game, man. This is a snowball right here. This is going to be great. These guys are used to it. These little California babies, they ain't going to come over there and play in the snow. Are you kidding me? They don't know what a freaking set of skis looks like. Like, come on.
Agreed.
All right. Well, going to 4 minutes on high, guys. Let's go ahead and we're to the segment finally in the show. Because you can't see my face, I'm not going to give my impassioned speech just yet. We just talked about it though, and I want to ask you guys for our focus on Hyde. If we can focus on the Thanksgiving holiday / Christmas, is your tree up? What's your favorite thing you're doing this time of year? What is Thanksgiving, and what's got on your mind with that spirit in mind? Aaron, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, and I was thinking about this too today while I was at work, and I want to take the time to, first of all, thank all of you guys, all the people who have supported us on the group. This was started, almost exactly 2 years ago as a way for me and a bunch of dads to get together and talk sports or game. Actually, it was supposed to be sports and gaming at the time, and it's just kind of sports is obviously taken over. And I could not be happier. Well, I could be happier. I mean, if I could get a little funding here from any venture capital people, wink, wink. But this has turned out to be something bigger than I could have hoped for, and I'm very thankful for all of you guys. Not to get sappy here, but all of you guys and guys like TJ and Marco, who's not with us anymore, but everybody who's helped get this thing off the ground. Troy is another one who has been there from, I think, day one, if I'm not mistaken. He can correct me if I'm wrong. Even Combsy with all of his bear shit, and anti-Jordan love crap. I mean, hey man, I still love you. I still love you, Combsy. But I'm thankful for that. I love the holidays though in general. Something that and actually Charles had commented. I put a post up earlier in the week about, and I can't remember what exactly it was on my profile, my Facebook profile page, about missing certain family members who especially grandparents. And this is one of those times when I think back to how things have changed in our family specifically. And used to be every holiday from 4th of July to Thanksgiving to Christmas was always a major thing at my grandma's house. And actually she was the grandma out of the two grandmas that I had. She was the one that I didn't get along with, but the one that I got along with, she passed away when I was 15. And one of the things that I wish could have happened was that she would have been around to see, my kids and that, which she never had a chance to meet. But yeah, I know I'm rambling, kind of going all over the place here. I'm just very thankful. And this is one of those times of the year that I really actually take a chance to stop and think about that. So for everybody out there that's listening, again, thank you for your support, and definitely take the time to, even if things aren't going the greatest right now. I know it's rough for a lot of people in our country and the economy and everything else, but just take some time to be thankful for the things that you do have.
Sounds good. Thank you. Adam, you're up.
Oh, all right. So instead of going off on things I'm thankful for, family, thankful for my wife. Next week we'll be together 13 years. Oh. And next March we'll be celebrating our 9-year wedding anniversary. We celebrate both. It's flown by. As we got rid of our apartment 2020 with the pandemic, both had to leave our jobs, go get higher paying jobs because we want a house. I had health things that came up, left a full-time permanent job, and for 3.5 years have not had a full-time permanent job. Had plenty of temp jobs and the Amazon Flexes and the Door Dashing, and how people can make a living doing DoorDash full-time, I have no idea. More power to them. But regardless, there are some days better than others when it frustrates you, and I remain grateful because I have my health, I have my friend, I have my family, I have my wife, family, and friends, and love this show. So appreciate it, and we keep striving forward regardless. So cheers to Thanksgiving, and let's have a fantastic end to the year.
Couldn't agree more. Charlie.
I'm going to kind of tie in a little bit to what both of you guys just said. I love the holiday season. It seriously is my favorite time of the year. Me and Mr. Snowman right here, we're going to party for the next month. It's going to be great. I love it. I miss the snow. But right now, before we get into Christmas, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. And it's like Aaron, was saying, we were discussing on that post the other day, be thankful. Everyone out there, just be thankful for what you have.
Amen,
because
brother.
you never know when you're not going to have that anymore.
Yeah.
You never know when your life is going to take a turn for the better or for the worse. It happens. Things aren't great for everybody right now. They're really not. We've got stuff going on right now. My wife's transmission just went out on her van. I'm thankful that I have a vehicle. We can still both get to work. You just be thankful for what you do have. If there's any time of the year to just put aside any anger, any hate, any resentment for how your life is going or for how you think the state of the country or whatever, or any of that bullshit, just let it go. For the next month, just be thankful for what you have. Wake up every morning. Thank God for giving you what you do have. Say amen. Go out. Treat everybody with love and kindness. We're all just trying to get through this damn thing together. So be thankful for that. And hopefully next year, we'll all be thankful for the Major League Baseball guys putting it into this deferred contract bullshit. It's got to stop. Fuck the Dodgers. I love all of you guys. I'm thankful for all of you guys.
F the Dodgers,
brother.
Oh, wow.
Steve, you're up.
My
Oh,
gosh.
really? After all these guys? Well, I'm kind of the new one to the ranks of Dads with Bacon, and I want to thank especially Aaron for just kind of taking a chance one night on me when he was short on folks to say, "Come on, let's see what you've got." And I appreciate now being part of the gang and getting to know all of you guys more, both on our weekly shows and also through our chat. It's great, and I'm thankful for as I said, family. We all talk about that. My wife is originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and she brought one of our favorite traditions to the family, and that is frying our Thanksgiving turkey. Didn't know what I was getting myself into when we tried it for the first time, and now tomorrow we are going to a joint Thanksgiving with some family friends to kind of have a bigger celebration this year. And they're doing 2 turkeys. We're gonna bake one, and they asked that we fry one. So we are going to have the chance to share that tradition with other folks as well. But, as everyone else has said, we're in a very interesting time in the world, in our country. And that's the thing about sports. And we talk about it all the time. Sports can be that relief valve. Sports can be that chance to kind of just step back and just kind of try to step away from the world for a couple hours. It's tough to do sometimes with everything and all the demands on our lives. But, when you have that chance to just, everybody's got their little passion projects or things that they enjoy. And, sports for some folks is what fills that gap, fills that void, fills that satisfaction that you can get just having something that, and I know for some people it's more intense than others because we do, have gambling and DFS and other things, but, still for most folks, it's a chance to just step back, relax, and hopefully tomorrow at 4:30, when nobody wants to watch the game, somebody will be like, put Fox on and let's see what happens. And maybe we'll be rewarded with a good game that we didn't expect. But I'm sure we'll talk more about the, Christmas traditions and things as we get closer. So I'll kind of leave it at that for tonight. But just hold everyone close, spend some time with them tomorrow. Miss those that are no longer with us, but cherish the moments we have with those that are still with us.
Yeah, it's like I say about the job search. It's like keep and remain positive. It's I haven't found the right fit yet. And it's about trying to maintain that positive attitude in what can be a very chaotic world and crazy world. Love your friends, love your families, love your friends. Love one another, as Julie Chen says at the end of every Big Brother live show. But as always, respect one another, regardless of your similarities or differences. Respect one another. Love one another. Ben, get us out of
Don't
here.
get arrested
You writing a
tomorrow.
Beatles song?
Don't kill your family. Don't get arrested tomorrow. It's okay. It's just politics or religion. You're fine. No one's going to die tomorrow. No one has to die tomorrow. Be safe. Have fun. Go Pack, go. F the Bears. I'm out.
Go, Pack, go!